Well, it was only in April that I posted my last top 10 video, and since then I've visited 5 brand new theme parks including Oakwood, which I lost all my footage from, Toverland, Toverland, Efteling and Walibi Holland, as well as a second one-day trip to my favourite theme park ever, Europa Park. I plan to make a review of every coaster on this list in the coming weeks, so go check those out if you want to see a more in-depth opinion. I've got a dedicated playlist for my coaster reviews. Please be aware, this list is in my own opinion, so if one of your favourite coasters ever is lower down on this list, or not on this list at all, please don't be disappointed, but be sure to tell me about your favourite coasters in the comment section below. So, join me as I share with you my top 10 coasters. Please be aware, not all the footage in this video is owned by myself, and the creators' names on screen now are those that I have used footage from. This video wouldn't have been made possible without them, and a link to their respective channels can be found in the description below. Number 10 is a coaster that will surprise a lot of people, and that coaster is Megafobia at Oakwood. This woody is my favourite in the UK, and it provides lots and lots of airtime. That first drop is one of the craziest I've ever experienced, and because this coaster has buzz bars, it means you're getting an experience that is so out of control. I've honestly never been so scared on a roller coaster before. Yes, Megaphobia isn't the smoothest of woodies out there, hardly at all. However, it's not the roughest coaster I've ridden, not by a long shot, and it's more than worth riding for that incredible airtime. Before I went to Oakwood, Megaphobia in my mind didn't look that good. However, now that I've got off it, I'm a big fan of this coaster. On to number 9, which is Baron 1898 at Efteling. What's interesting about Baron is that the best thing about this coaster isn't the actual coaster, it's the experience. The experience is so immersive with the soundtracks, pre-shows and incredible theming. All you need to do is look up at this lift structure, it is incredible. Although many say the coaster part isn't great, it still delivers to an extent. Like the drop is pretty good, climbing up the lift hill before diving into smoke and darkness. The inversions aren't anything to write home about, and I can see why some people wouldn't place Baron this high, but for me, Baron is a unique experience that I really wish I got more rides on. Next up is Troy at Toverland. Troy is one of those coasters that you just come off laughing. The ride is surprisingly intense for a wooden coaster, and also provides fantastic airtime. If you saw the Toverland vlog, you'll know that I did get stapled on all my rides. I think it's to do with my body shape and size at the moment. I'm sure in time I won't get stapled, and will probably enjoy this coaster even more. But still, it's my favourite wooden coaster, which says a lot. The twistiness of the layout is simply unmatched compared to other coasters, and I honestly cannot wait until I can return back to Toverland and ride this incredible wooden coaster. Number 7 is Goliath at Walibi Holland, a coaster that I couldn't get much footage of because most of it was outside the park. I've actually only had one ride on this coaster, but that ride was more than enough to make it crack my top 10. I got a second car ride, but the airtime was still really nice. Not aggressive as such, but really enjoyable, with the drop and the first airtime hill providing more sustained airtime, and then the smaller bunny hills at the end providing more sharp ejector. People often complain about these large helixes, and yes, they do slow the ride down, but they're not completely pointless, as one's over the water, which makes a really nice setting for this coaster, and they both provide a little bit of force. The highlight of the ride for me on Goliath has to be those final 3 hills which I described earlier. Each one gives enjoyable ejector airtime, which is made even better with the T-bar restraints. I really am a big fan of those. Back to the UK now with number 6, which is the Smiler. If you want a forceful, out of control experience, then the Smiler is the perfect ride for you. This ride is so unconventional. Going through 14 different inversions is something quite extraordinary. As well as that, the 2 airtime hills provide some nice airtime, and in my opinion, that second hill is my favourite part of the ride. The logo, the theme, and the soundtrack basically sum up this coaster. It's weird, but I love it so much. The soundtrack has really grown on me over lockdown. If you're in the UK or visiting Europe, then the Smiler is one coaster you really don't want to miss out on. just be sure to try and get a front row ride, because the coaster can be a bit jolty, especially towards the end. However, in my opinion, that just aids the crazy out of control experience. This is one wild ride. Also at Alton Towers, I have Nemesis in number 5. Now, Nemesis is a very special roller coaster to me. It was the coaster that got me into becoming an enthusiast, and I've loved it ever since. Nemesis is extremely forceful. Like, after you go into this first corkscrew and then quickly bank to the right into this downward helix, then going through a canyon into that 0G roll, that whole section of the ride is so incredibly forceful. Nemesis is definitely the most forceful roller coaster I've ridden in terms of prolonged exposure to that force. You feel as if you're going to smash your feet on every single rock that goes by. To go to Alton Towers and not ride Nemesis, for me, is an extremely rare occurrence. Nemesis is just amazing, you know? And yeah, I guess it's not the smoothest of coasters anymore. When I first rode it in 2015, I would definitely say it was a lot smoother back then than it is now. However, you win some and you lose some, and it's not ridiculously rough. I wouldn't even consider it rough. I'd just say it's a little bit jolty at times. So don't expect like the smoothest of B&Ms like Galactica next door. But whatever your opinion on Nemesis may be, tell me about it in the comments below if you wish. It did change the UK theme park industry forever back in 1994. Now, when I sat down a week ago and really thought hard about which coasters are the best that I've ridden, Silverstar has dropped a few places. Nonetheless, Silverstar provides lots of sustained floater airtime and free pops of ejector. Many people seem to complain about the trims on B&M Hypers, but the best thing about Silverstar for me is that I've ridden it with no trims, and what an experience that was. Saying that, because not many of the trims activate, the ride is more rattly and jolty than other B&Ms that I've done. However, for me, it's more than worth it for that airtime. Phoenix at Toverland comes in at number 3 and is a B&M wing coaster that I was not expecting to be so good. The theming is very prominent throughout your entire experience, the whole queue line is detailed, and the coaster from an off-ride perspective looks absolutely gorgeous. The actual coaster pulls a surprising amount of force, like this helix here, wow, so intense. As well as that, there's some airtime on this hill, and it's actually really good floater airtime, very sustained. The force, the airtime, and of course the theme is what makes me rank Phoenix so highly. You know, it's kind of weird to think that my favourite B&M on earth is a wing coaster. And now, after riding Phoenix, I'm extremely excited for the future of B&M, if they're going to make more coasters like Phoenix. Number 2 is Icon, still my favourite coaster here in the UK. Icon is very smooth, features comfortable trains, as well as providing a wide variety of elements and forces. There's lots of airtime pops, hang time, positive forces, snappy transitions, you name it. Icon has it all. I honestly love riding this coaster. And on my first ride on it, I was seriously confused why people said that this coaster was the best in the UK. But after I let the coaster warm up, then I began to see why. Also, the soundtrack is so good, I love listening to it. Yeah, Icon, absolutely love this coaster. Before I get to number 1, I thought it'd be appropriate to name some coasters that didn't quite manage to crack this list. They are all fantastic coasters in their own right, so here they are. Woden at Europa Park, it didn't quite manage to crack this list, but it's still a fantastic wooden coaster with great pacing. The Swarm, an enjoyable B&M wing coaster. Stealth, an insane launch coaster that takes my breath away every single time. Wicker Man at Alton Towers, my very first GCI with one of the best themes I've ever experienced. And finally, an extremely controversial opinion, but the Grand National at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Anyway, with those coasters out of the way, my number 1 roller coaster is Untamed at Wallaby Holland. What on earth, Untamed is incredible. My first RMC and I couldn't have been more impressed. The pacing is so well kept, the inversions are fun, and I do believe this ride is nearly perfect in my opinion. The only downside to this coaster is the restraints, but even though Untamed can be painful at times, I am more than willing to experience a little pain for that insane ejector airtime. All the elements are so well designed, RMC couldn't have put any more into the layout they had to work with. I honestly cannot wait to ride more RMCs in the future. But yeah, Untamed is more than worthy of being my #1 coaster, and I'm really unsure how anything I ride from now onwards can top it. You've been watching Stubwood. Thank you so much for watching, and on that note, keep on being amazing. You guys are legends, and I'll see you all in the next video.